Hello, everyone. I'm Don Pratt, host of a show here on Rogers TV where we give you a perspective of police in your community. Welcome to Policing York Region. Today, we have the great opportunity of talking about recruiting with York Regional Police, and we have Inspector Maurice James and Staff Sergeant Sean Phelps. Gentlemen, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us on the show.
Maurice, I think this is the first time that we've had the opportunity to chat on this platform. Again, thank you very much for being here. Sean, I believe you've been in this seat before.
Yes, indeed. We've had prior collaborations.
We've had a couple of good chats. Gentlemen, opening up the floor on just what is recruiting with York Regional Police. I'm not sure who wants to take the start, but how does one, as somebody up and coming thinking I might be looking for a career in policing, what are my first steps?
Well, let the staff, that's his unit of expertise. So I'll let him answer that question for you there, Don.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, Don. So if you're a member of the public who may be interested in exploring a career with the York Regional Police in the area of uniform, there's certainly lots of avenues available to a member of the public seeking information. If you do happen to be attending a local college or university, the likelihood is our uniform recruiting unit is going to have a presence on your campus at some point during your semester. So keep an eye out for that. You can also have a look at our external website, YRP.ca, specifically under the careers section in the upcoming events area, where we do list upcoming employment information sessions. And those sessions invite members of the public either to attend an info session, either virtually or back when we go live to the local theaters, right. And you can actually interact with members of the uniform recruiting unit and ask those questions about police constable recruitment.
Okay, so you mentioned, Sean, then the college and universities and YRP having a presence there. So understandably, right now there's a bit of a difference with COVID, but you're saying that you actually have a physical presence in these facilities?
Yes, indeed. So during COVID, we have had a virtual presence. We, the Uniform Recruiting Unit, York Regional Police, have very close working relationships with the program coordinators of Police Foundations, Justice Studies, and programs of a similar nature throughout the province of Ontario. And so because of that, we have an in-depth look at the students coming through the program. And then when we liaise directly with the program coordinators, they are able to tell us who are the shining stars within their program.
So you get kind of a head start on who might be entering your program.
The recruiting begins the moment these students set foot in the classroom in that type of a program. Because of our relationships with the different program coordinators, we watch how a student is progressing in their college and university years way early on, probably before they even know it. And so that's why it's important to conduct yourself and carry yourself a certain way in anticipation of being looked at later on by the York Regional Police Uniform Recruiting Unit.
Okay, so you just touched on something that I had noted for later on in the conversation, but we'll jump into it right now. When YRP needs to learn who you are, once you've made your application, they do take an in-depth look at where you came from and who you are, don't they?
We look very, very closely, not only who you are and what you're bringing to the table on your resume. We're looking at your employment history, certainly your education history, as well as your commitment to community engagement and volunteer work. We're looking for candidates that come to us ready in terms of being well-rounded in all of those areas. It's important to us to evaluate a candidate's good moral character and habits. Part of that involves liaising directly with the program coordinators and the members of faculty of each Police Foundations and Justice Studies program. So a candidate that shows up potentially to class late regularly, we're going to hear about that. That could impact their candidacy down the road.
Yeah, and I suppose any factors could, right? Like you say, you pay attention to all of those finer details in somebody's credibility and past, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We look at everything in terms of good moral character and habits. A driving record, credit history, who you're hanging out with. Are you coming to class early? Are you showing up late?
Yeah.
These are things that will factor in to the greater evaluation of your candidacy.
So when we talked about having a presence either like in colleges, in universities, and other places. That's an ongoing effort. I suppose recruiting never really stops, does it?
No, it doesn't. We have a regular presence on campus. We actually come into the classrooms. We are afforded the opportunity to directly interact with students. We do mock interviews. We have a structured student employment information session, and we begin building those relationships early with the students and hoping that we can encourage them eventually to turn their mind towards a career with the York Region Police.
Right. Right. Maurice, just wanted to talk a little bit about recruiting and facilities that you might use or entertain with, with your role in recruiting.
In facilities, in terms of what exactly?
So where do people go for recruiting?
Okay, so what happens is we, prior to COVID, we used facilities here at the training branch. We have classrooms that are available. We have a quad classroom that holds a large capacity. Also, we go to the Newmarket Theater, which we house information sessions at, or St. Andrews College, or down the south end in Markham. The Markham Theater will go there as well and hold information sessions. We'll go to job fairs. We have virtual job fairs as well. As when the staff mentioned, that we're also into the colleges and university physically to also present those types of avenues for people to connect with us.
Okay, so I guess basically your home base is the training branch. That's where you have some of your staff there. But you basically, I guess, between the two of you, you're kind of saying you'll go pretty much anywhere to do your recruiting.
Have car will travel.
Have car will travel, and it's true. I've been at many community functions where recruiting has had their table set up with their little their bits of information and upcoming information sessions. It's a great way to get the word out there, isn't it?
Absolutely, and we rely on our officers as well to get the word out there when they're on patrol. Whether they're at a call or just doing a foot patrol, that they come across individuals that they seem to be potential candidates, or because everyone likes to talk to, I shouldn't say everyone, but some people like to talk to the police and get some insight. And we're hoping that those officers that have those interactions are able to then pass on some further information for those people that would like to consider a career in policing.
Okay, so a question that I posed early on, and we've talked a little bit about it, but I was asking about somebody that brand new wants to make application. We can see some of the places where they might see those opportunities through the colleges, universities, theaters. You said going to the information sessions. Obviously, that's of great value. Let's say somebody has made application and what's the next step? They're waiting to see, hey, Don just made an application to become an officer with York Regional Police. What should he expect next?
Well, prior to you applying to York Regional Police or any police service within the Ontario, you would first have to get your OACP certificate, which is Ontario Chiefs of Police Association certificate. So there's a independent branch that does testing on behalf of police services, because we don't have the capacity presently to do all the testing. So there's a website. The person will be guided towards that website. They would then go through the information and begin their testing. So there's various testings that they conduct through this service, and upon completion and successful completion of those testings, you get a certificate, which you then include within your application to apply to police service.
So you need that certificate before you actually even apply then?
Yes.
Oh wow. Okay. And within that certificate, I mean, is this is it all basically classroom, or is there some physical entity to it as well?
I could weigh in on that, Don.
Okay.
Yes. So actually, right now, currently, a potential candidate can obtain their OACP certificate of results from the comfort of their own living room. It's all done online now.
Okay.
And essentially, it's a battery of written aptitude and personality tests that you complete online after you pay your fee. You then take some sanctioned forms to get your hearing and vision tested, and then you submit those to the OACP Constable Selection System vendor, and they will evaluate your test results, your hearing and vision results, and they will issue you an OACP certificate of results. That document is minimally what candidates have to have before any police service in the province following this system can accept your application.
Okay, so this is kind of across the board. This isn't strictly for York Regional Police. This is kind of it sounds like it's something that's widely accepted throughout the policing services. Is it that's kind of the standard, the OACP?
Yeah, precisely. There's over 40 licensed services in the province that follow this pre-application testing protocol.
Okay, so like you were saying, once people have completed that, now they make application, whether it's to YRP or other local or larger police services, right?
Precisely. And once we, as a service, have received your application, the applicant will receive a tracking number, a letter of acknowledgement, and then we begin vetting and reviewing the credentials that they've submitted. We will then apply a scoring matrix, and based on what the results of that are, we will then determine which candidates we bring in and when. Candidates when they are.
And then we're gonna chat about that as soon as we come back. Want to know what happens right after that, folks? We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, as we continue our conversation about uniform recruiting with York Regional Police. Gentlemen, before we went to break, we were talking about what happens after the application's been received at YRP. It's in the review stage. I use myself as an example. What does Don expect from here?
Right. So the entire police constable application package that you submit, Don, is going to be reviewed by our team of recruiters. We are going to apply a structured scoring matrix review to the entirety of your credentials that you've submitted. So we're going to be closely examining, first of all, your education, current and historical. We're also going to be looking at your current employment and what you've done historically. We're also going to be looking at your pattern of community service, community engagement, your overall commitment to that. We're also examining any specialized training or credentials you've obtained over the years. Do you have any second languages? Are you a local candidate versus a distant candidate? And so based on the totality of that review, we are going to assess a score based on the needs of the organization. And that score is going to dictate when that candidate gets contacted on a priority basis.
It sounds pretty in depth. You've got a lot of different tentacles that you bring in together to make one decision on an application, right? But I mean, it does make sense when you look at York Regional Police as a whole. It's not the smallest organization in the world. It's grown considerably over recent years, and even just with the diversity of both the region and the service, I suppose you've got to be cognitive of that too.
Well, absolutely. We want to appeal to all segments of not only York Region residents, but the people of Ontario who may be interested in applying to the York Regional Police. And we will afford them every opportunity to present themselves and their credentials at their competitive best. And our goal is to hire police officers, and we are seeking the most competitive candidates.
Which only makes sense. I mean, I think, Sean, we used this caption in a previous taping where you really want the best of the best to do the best job, right? Is what it comes down to.
Precisely. And that doesn't always mean someone who has scored straight A's in school.
No.
It does mean someone who has a demonstrated commitment to education, employment, and community service.
Yeah, you've brought in the word community service a few times, which is obviously that's a highlight for us. That's what this show is all about, is community engagement, community service. Um, that's integral to somebody that wants to become a member of York Regional Police as an organization.
Well, I can't tell you the last time in the last 10 years when we would have hired someone new as a police officer without having a demonstrated commitment to community service. You're absolutely correct. It's paramount to have that. And if you don't have that, you're going to stand out as deficient when it comes to our scoring matrixing review.
Right, right. Now, so how do you see the trend with recruiting in the policing field in general? Obviously, as we'd mentioned before, the community is growing. York Regional Police is growing. Is there an upward need of officers in York Region during this time frame?
So, I mean, as the population of York Region grows, so does the need to increase our complement of uniformed police officers.
Sure.
And we are also dealing with attrition, so retirements and resignations, as any organization does. So that will add to the requirements for our frontline needs.
Right. Yeah. You referred to attrition. I mean, that's something we've talked with in other areas. That obviously people move on in their careers and they retire out. They certainly need to be replaced. And I think at the last conversation that we had, there was quite a number of people that had moved on and were brought in, right?
Right. I mean, the needs have not dwindled at all. We are seeking qualified applicants to apply. We have a need, and we would like to attract the best, as you said, Don. And I'm hoping that we're going to be able to speak a little bit about what a candidate can do to make them most competitive before applying.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we keep coming back to, you want to see the best of the best. Maurice, you've been involved with York Regional Police for a number of years. You've certainly seen a lot of officers coming through different branches, different bureaus that you belong to, right?
Oh yeah, so I'm in my 31st year here at
congrats.
YRP. Yeah, I've seen quite a few throughout the years come and go, different units, but everyone starts at the same spot. So what I mean by that is anyone who comes on to York Regional Police, they'll do time on the front line. And then they will then try to seek out different paths for their own careers, their own development, and what is it they want to do throughout their lifetime here at YRP.
So you mentioned that everyone starts the same. So I guess on this side of the fence, we don't necessarily think of that, because we see people in different capacities, different roles. But you're saying that everyone basically starts out as a constable on the road.
Yeah, that's correct. And then from there, they branch out into specialized units. So we have so many units here at York Region Police. It's a new career. It's a different adventure. We have our CIB, which is Criminal Investigation Branch. Right. We have our Intel. We have K9. We have our Emergency Response Unit. We have our Major Frauds. We have so many different units that members can venture into throughout their career.
So I'm just curious, and I don't think that you could put a firm number to this, but should somebody have become a first-class constable and they've been on the road for a couple of years, what would be an average, say, a time span before they could perhaps move into a different unit, a more specialized unit, or are there stepping stones to get there?
Well, as we grow as an organization, and we've heard already that the needs also grow, so we may need more officers in certain areas. So becoming a first-class constable, way back when I started, it wasn't unheard of to be on the road for 10, 15 years. Now officers are, now officers are on the road. They reach first class, so the year 6. They're starting to move on to different assignments. So it varies, and it probably will vary throughout the year as well.
Sure. But I mean, somebody's not going to, be sworn in as an officer today and become a member of the ERU tomorrow.
No. No.
That's blunt, very blunt. No, that's not going to happen.
No.
There is a process, and there's, we talk in general, just in life skills. I'm sure that an officer learns a lot more than just life skills being on the road every day.
Oh, absolutely. You have to imagine we deal with so many different individuals, so many different scenarios throughout, even in one day, right? So you multiply that by the number of years that you're on the road, you will gain an understanding and appreciation for people's plights and what you can do. And we're always training. Our members are always receiving training, mental health training, de-escalation training. So we are, after many years on the road, you have a solid foundation to now go on to something else.
And you're absolutely right. I mean, I suppose to many degrees, training never really stops, does it?
No.
Right, like it doesn't matter whether we've brought in the first class constable, as you said, for approximately the first 6 years of their career. But even them there's always new techniques, new technologies, and I suppose even new crimes.
Yeah, and changes in legislation, right? Legislation's changed, so we have to change with it.
Yeah, sure. I guess that's something that also has to come through your offices, that to identify what those changes are and make sure that everybody's following along the same book, right?
Absolutely.
Right. But like I said, the training never stops.
It never stops.
Right. So, Sean, when you're seeing all these new recruits coming through through your bureau, does YRP have they already identified what roles they need filled?
So, I mean, we hire here for new recruits, frontline police constable.
Okay.
And so the answer would be yes. So a candidate coming through our unit would have to pre-select which pathway they want to apply, through which they want to apply. But we don't only hire police constables. You can also apply here to be court security, prisoner transport as a special constable. We also recruit for auxiliary constables out of this unit and student cadets. And any person or employee that wears a uniform will come through our unit.
Okay, so maybe we can identify what those differences are then. You mentioned that the uniform recruiting isn't just recruiting for frontline constables, but what were the other areas that they were recruiting for?
Right, so any member that has a uniform within this organization as part of their duties would be coming through the hiring process with the uniform recruiting unit. Okay. The organization does have a separate civilian recruiting unit, and they would hire for civilian positions within the organization. Okay, so two totally separate entities. Completely. As far as recruiting goes. So you had mentioned even like courts and auxiliaries, they fall under your command as well. Our hiring mandate, yes, as well. Student cadet, anyone that wears a uniform will automatically apply through our pathway, the uniform recruiting unit. Yeah, I only repeat that thinking that it's interesting to note and worthy of noting that I guess that however you represent York Regional Police wearing that uniform, the initial training is all the same, isn't it? Precisely, for everyone. Baseline training, and they all come through our branch to do it. Yeah, that keeps everyone exactly on the same page as to what's to be expected of a police officer in our community, right? That's great for it's great for you guys to know that it's everyone sails in the same direction. It's great for the community to know that everyone's had the proper training. Yeah, as mentioned before, so the different uniform positions. So we have specialized training for the special officers. Sorry, let me say that again. But specialized training for like court security officers, which is the special constables. So they don't do exactly what the frontline officers would go through once they get hired. Also, the auxiliaries have a different program as well. So it's geared to each section of that uniform personnel.
Okay. No. Okay. So I just wanted to take a minute before we go, though. I wanted to take a minute to bring it back to the initial application process, and you know the guy that or the gal that is looking to become an employee with York Regional Police, and their backgrounds, and how important it is to keep yourself clean even from a young age, and to come good for it if you weren't, right?
Absolutely, because we want to know who you are. We will speak to your neighbors, your past neighbors, teachers, past teachers, everyone. We want to hear from them as to who you are.
Yeah, and you know, one of the most important pieces that I took from that application process is keep it honest, because YRP is going to look and ask.
We have to, you know, we don't expect anybody to be perfect, but we do expect them to be honest. And
Yes.
all right, we encourage applications from members of the public who may have made mistakes throughout the course of their life, but they recognize those mistakes and they've turned their pathway into a positive direction. For us, that's huge. Those bruises, life experience that you bring to our recruitment process,
Yes.
that is what we value.
And that's what it's all about, is what we value in York Region, and becoming York Regional Police Officer. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been great having you both here. Folks, that wraps up this episode. We look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you very much, Don.